Democrats win when we run on real solutions, not impossible promises. When we run on things that are workable, not fairy tale economics.
You know, I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for. I don't get it.
She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California.
I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work.
I get a little bit tired of Democrats afraid of big ideas. Republicans are not afraid of big ideas. They could give $1 trillion in tax breaks to billionaires and profitable corporations. They could bail out the crooks on Wall Street. So please don't tell me that we cannot take on the fossil fuel industry.
They're not going to go along. You throw your hands up, but you have.
Medicare for All is comprehensive. It covers all health care needs. For senior citizens, it will finally include dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses.
But you don't know.
Second of all,
you don't know that,
second
Bernie.
of all,
We'll come to you in a second,
I do know, and I wrote the damn bill.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor. I embraced reforms, not just in action, but in deed. Sir, you are trying to shift the view from what you created because you stood up and used that tough on crime, phony rhetoric that got a lot of people elected, but destroyed communities like mine.
I'm Andre Coleman.
I'm Barry Gordon. Aloha.
Hey, man. Welcome to NewsRap, live at 5. Well, here we go. I had Barry on screen until just right now. He's in Hawaii someplace. Looks like a hurricane's kicking up. We're going to try to get him back on the screen. There he is. Hey, man, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, though?
I can hear you. What's going on?
All right, we're good.
Lost you for a second. What's going on?
I'm just chilling. We're ending the vacation with some friends tonight for dinner, and then tomorrow we get on a plane. I come back, and I will be with you in person next week. But then, believe it or not, the week after that in Detroit for a Comic-Con, and then I'll be with you again. And
or you're going everywhere. You're going. You ought to take me with you on some of these vacations. Is what should happen. Show them your shirt.
Well,
It's
they're
got
not
a tree
vacation.
on it.
No, the others aren't vacations. The others are turf business.
Okay. Show them the shirt. I can see the tree on it.
Oh, okay. There it is. Oh, I can't. Yeah.
And we can see the palm trees behind you. Looks like the wind's kicking up. You expecting a hurricane out there or something?
Could be next week, but we'll be gone.
Okay.
But I know my kids are stocking up.
All right. So let's get into this thing, man. Did you watch the debate?
Oh, of course.
Give me some
Of
opinion.
course. That was a great opening package. I couldn't hear it, but it looked wonderful.
Oh, it was amazing. Better. It was even better with sound. Trust me.
I bet I'll have to watch the replay.
Well, tell me what you thought about the debate. Let's go into it.
Well, I mean, I think it was very interesting to me. A couple of things. First of all, and I'm hearing a delay, so I might be a little hesitant when I talk because I'm hearing me delayed. So, the first night was Sanders and Warren, of course, against every basic moderate running or centrist running. The next night were the few centrists who don't want to call themselves centrists, right?
And the people of color.
Biden, Harris, well, and Booker. And, but they don't want the label progressive, so we won't give them the label progressive. But they were up against the second-tier candidates who were mostly progressive.
That's right.
You had Gillibrand, right? And on both nights, progressivism won.
Well, I think Elizabeth Warren won the debates both nights because I think the second night, the Democrats made a huge mistake attacking Barack Obama. I don't know what that was about.
Heck, I don't know what that was about either.
I don't know why they decided to go
don't
there. That was just stupid. It was just ridiculous. It was dumb.
Yeah.
I still say I think Elizabeth Warren won both nights just by not being there the second night, which was ridiculous. But also, it's about time we get this thing down to about 7 to 10 candidates. It's just too much noise.
Yeah.
Why is Williamson showing up?
I know. And I did think that Cory Booker was very strong on that night. I thought he did a very good job.
He had a chance to shine. He had a really good chance to shine.
So I'm hoping he moves up and will be. I think he's already in the next debate, as I recall the list. Right now, it's 8 and on the verge of 9. Have you seen the list?
Yeah, and I think we need to stop right about 9 or 10. If I had my way, it'd be 7. It would be 7 if I could have my way.
Yeah, I know.
But
I know.
You know, we can't do anything till we get through the noise. And I think right now what's happening is that, you know, Williamson is talking, de Blasio's talking, and people who have no chance of getting to the nomination or possibly even winning a primary or a caucus.
Yeah.
I don't need to swim through that to get to the main points of the person who may face Trump.
No, I think that's true. And I also, though, see another trend that is really concerning. And that is the willingness of the mainstream media, and I'm including MSNBC, who I thought was pretty progressive, but they're starting to lose their progressive cred with me. So people on MSNBC and CNN and some major op-ed people are just doing anything they can to prop up Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Joe Biden can't do this.
Wow.
I'm going to say it right out. He can't handle it. He can't do it. He made so many mistakes. And you know, they're trying to say, well, Biden's always made gaffes. No, these weren't gaffes. These were old people not being able to put words together.
So you think it's an age issue?
I think it's a major age issue. I hate to sound like an ageist. And frankly, I don't, because I didn't see any of that with Bernie Sanders. Yep. Bernie Sanders was on fire.
But you know what? Even though Bernie Sanders was on fire, did that matter to you?
Oh, no. But what I'm saying is we've got two people around the same age, and one is cooking on all cylinders and the other is not.
You know what?
And there's a tremendous reluctance right now on the part of mainstream media and the Democratic Party establishment to admit that.
You know, what's amazing about that is while there is this big effort to keep Biden relevant, I think an effort is also growing to make Sanders irrelevant no matter what he does or says.
I agree with that.
And it's almost... Go ahead.
They want Warren. The one thing I am getting from pundits is that they want Warren to carry the progressive banner.
Okay.
And they're looking now for the big matchup, which they all are talking about, Warren Biden. But I think what they hope is that Biden's moderation and centrist approach will burst Warren's bubble. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
You know what? I think that I think the Democratic Party has a problem with coronating people. In 2016, an effort was made to coronate Hillary Clinton. Now there's an effort made to get everybody to bend the knee for Joe Biden. And Biden may not carry the day. He may not. What if he doesn't win the nomination? What if he's not even in second? Right. What if Warren comes out strong and Buttigieg comes out strong, or Harris, or Booker?
Right.
You know, there's going to be a lot of reshuffling the deck. And even in this debate, the first two questions, it was an effort to pit Biden back to Harris, to give him a chance to come out strong, to give him to get a rematch, to get a zinger. And these things aren't being played for policy. I thought CNN did a terrible job because it almost seemed like they just kept trying to generate zingers. and one-liners.
That's
and
exactly
soundbites.
what they were doing. But that's what they live on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they needed, that kind of battle in order to have any relevance for their audience. That's what they live on. That's why I don't watch them.
Let's pivot to this, because you and I, we've been texting a little bit about this. A majority of Democrats in the House now favor an impeachment inquiry at the least. What does that mean for us at this point? Are we at an inevitable point?
We could be close to an inevitable point. The question is whether Pelosi is waiting for an overwhelming majority of her caucus. And she may not get that, but she definitely has a majority of her caucus. The other issue is that has Nadler now given her cover?
Yeah.
By basically saying, we've already started the impeachment inquiry.
So then she doesn't have to commit to do anything.
Then she doesn't have to commit to do anything. But the question is, will the courts accept that?
Yeah.
Or will they say, well, wait a minute, you know, your leader is saying no impeachment. You guys are saying this is an impeachment inquiry. Are you trying to have it both ways?
Let me invite the audience into this. You can join us on Facebook.
Sure.
I think it's NewsRapPass.com, PasadenaMedia.com on Facebook. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation by all means.
Absolutely.
You know, I think another thing here, Barry, I think you hit on something key, because I think by not making this official, they lose some constitutional powers.
I do too.
Number one, the president can't, under an impeachment, the president cannot pardon his way out of it.
Right.
What we have right now, he still could pardon McGahn. He still could pardon himself to get out of this.
Yeah.
His powers will be lessened if we made this official, or if the Democrats in the House made this official and went in that direction.
Yes, and his ability to block subpoenas is also lessened, which is exactly why Nadler is trying to paint what he's doing now as an impeachment inquiry and getting the courts to buy it. I just don't know if the court will. Now, if the court allows the blocking of these subpoenas, then I think Pelosi has no choice but to switch to an impeachment inquiry.
So a victory he gets could lead to a push over a cliff in the wrong direction.
Oh, I think it will.
So stick around for a second, Barry. We're going to go to these local news briefs, and then we're going to come right back.
All right.
Let's do it.
This is your local news brief for Friday, August 2nd, 2019. The Hahamunga Watershed Park Committee will remain active after an internal vote to decide whether or not their mission is still necessary. According to the committee chair, Cindy Clark-Schnuell, the committee's goals have been met. Tim Brick, the managing director for the Arroyo Seco Foundation, is quoted in a Pasadena Now article as saying, "The big dig and challenges of climate change and water resources conservation make this an especially important time to have a dedicated committee that focuses on the unique issues of our region's greatest natural gem." The committee has compromised by minimizing the member count from 13 to 9. Clark-Schnuell will present a letter regarding the count to the City Council. Immigrant detainees previously held in 2 Orange County processing centers have been relocated to the Adelanto ICE Processing Center. An unknown number from those Orange County centers have been deported, released on bail or parole, or transferred to an alternate, potentially out-of-state facility. The American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, of Southern California has filed a lawsuit claiming that transfers to locations far away would make it difficult for detainees who have lawyers or family in the area. Samir Ahmed, a lawyer for the union, is quoted as saying, "I think it was pretty clear that without the lawsuit, ICE would have transferred many individuals who had families and attorneys here to detention centers very far away, as far as Florida." The Adelanto facility holds 1,940 beds.
Tell me what community looks like. This is what community looks like.
The Washington 16, former residents of an East Washington Boulevard apartment complex, protested evictions from the property. Activists from the Pasadena Tenants Justice Coalition joined protesters in marching to the Arcadia residence of Jeff T. Lee, manager of Nevis Capital LLC, the owners of the property. On July 1st, Pasadena's newly expanded Tenant Protection Ordinance went into effect, and Nevis Capital LLC claims to have issued checks to assist with relocation. While former residents hoped the City Council would do more, Councilmember Victor Director Gordo stated, there remains a question as to whether or not the city should involve itself in a disagreement involving the TPO or any other disagreement between a tenant and the landlord.
You know what? So this is the issue. I'm gonna stick to that last story for a second there about rent control and evictions. So this is the issue of the Pasadena Weekly that we're talking about. Great story by James Farr, who does the Conversation Live. But there's another story in here by Peter Dreyer. Pick this up and read them both. These are amazing stories. James is in the room right now. I don't know if he's watching, but I do see he's in the Facebook room if he wants to chime in. But Barry, we have reached that moment that you and I have talked about where housing costs have now become the driving issue and possibly the main issue in Pasadena politics. And, I mean, I still don't have an answer, but we're fast reaching a breaking point. I mean, we've got the Washington 16. There's another group, the Los Robles 10, that's also now been evicted. And we're finding out that really quickly the city's tenant protection ordinance doesn't have the teeth that people thought it did.
Well, I think that's right. And it is inevitable that this is going to be one of the key issues of the coming years, not just in Pasadena, but everywhere, obviously. And I think there's no magic bullet. I can't find one.
Okay. I don't know. Well, I agree with you. I don't think it's a magic bullet. I think you and I are pretty savvy people on politics and things like that. I don't know, just sitting here, how you resolve this issue, because rent control would keep people in their apartments. But if we freeze the rent and you couldn't afford to live here yesterday, then you still can't afford to live here tomorrow.
That's right.
So it doesn't necessarily take people off the streets, but it keeps people from going onto the streets. So what is the answer there? I mean, how do you solve this problem?
Well, it doesn't take people off the streets. The only thing that's going to take people off the streets is a significant amount of public housing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's going to take people off the streets, because no one, I mean, I don't care if you freeze the rents or even reduce them a little bit, that's not going to prevent people from being homeless. And the other thing that we need to do, I think, is to get back to, and maybe this is very controversial, but I think we have to get back to the pre-Reagan practice of not of basically recognizing there's mental illness with a lot of these people.
Well, you know what?
And treating them as people that need help, that have illness and need rehab, need programs.
You know what's kind of off-putting to me is I think that this is an issue that should be brought up during this presidential season. I think you need to ask the candidates about housing prices in California. If the California economy goes, the nation's economy goes. This is a national issue in a lot of ways. And so
they will probably ask. They'll probably ask it, but they probably won't phrase it as a California issue. They'll probably phrase it as a national issue.
Same with homelessness. I mean, these are issues that as a nation we have to get around, and it's part of healthcare.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the Peter Dreyer article, since I'm here in Hawaii and didn't see the PW this week. So.
Well, I got two here, and I'm going to save one for you.
Okay, cool.
A majority of renters and homeowners in all 7 districts favor rent control. A majority, according to a poll. And Peter's got a lot of tables and figures in there supporting that from a poll of 700 residents. So if this is the voice of the people, then at some point you would think it comes back to council. We got a comment from Goosestock. People shouldn't be able to make a living off renting. Government should seize all rentals and put them in the market. More supply equals lower price. What do you think?
Okay, I got confused because it sounded like he was moving toward a very socialist position, and then flipped it and said that the government should put
should seize and put it on the market. But if the government sees
I don't know how you do that, Gustav.
Well, what
it's
does it help?
Interesting, but I don't know how you do it. Yeah.
Well, what would it help? If they seize it and put it on the market, who could afford it?
Right.
You know, you're still in the same situation. I think.
Well, I guess what he's saying is the basic economic rule that the larger the supply is, the more the prices will drop. That's what he's basically saying.
But if the prices are already locally here, let's say a house, I don't know if this is the mean, but I'm sure it's close, is somewhere at $700,000 and above.
Yeah.
How many homes and units do you have to seize before it gets down to an affordable cost?
Right.
So he's got a response. Put them back up for average person. I think that's person to buy. Well, Barry and I are probably the average person, and I don't think either one of us could afford a home in Pasadena right now. Maybe Barry could because he's hanging out in Hawaii, so obviously he could, but I couldn't.
No. Probably though not at the current prices. I would agree with that.
Right.
I mean, I have a home in Pasadena, but
you didn't buy it at the current price.
I got it 25 years ago.
Right.
So so it's not. At the current price, I would say that you're priced out of the market, and you're definitely priced out of the market in terms of rentals. I mean, I've had this conversation with my wife because part of me, would love to sell the house, move into the Paseo, right, or something.
Okay.
And have a really cool apartment. We will pay so much more for that little tiny apartment than we're paying for our house.
I would say this.
Because of what's happened with prices.
If you bought your house 25 years ago, what you would pay on rent now would probably be almost double your house note when you got your house.
Could be.
It would be higher. No doubt it would be higher.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
It's definitely higher.
So now
I would say maybe 50% higher. Yeah.
And that's higher. So Gustav again, Gustav maybe we should have got a chair and he could have kicked it next to me and guest host because
I know
he's jumping in with all of them, but I appreciate the conversation. So increase supply and the price goes down, and maybe you could finish the thought for me.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do something. All right, I'm gonna let him finish that.
Okay.
And then Christian Hanian's here. Scroll that comment down. On the subject we were talking about before on impeachment, a 2/3 majority vote is required in the Senate to convict and remove and impeach the president. Chris, everybody, that's not the only reason to impeach. Stop looking for removal. It would be great if they got it. But your best chance at getting the Senate, a Senate majority for Democrats, might lie in forcing every Republican to co-sign on this president, which could give the Dems a majority.
Yeah.
It's possible. Go ahead, Barry.
I think the best argument that I've heard, other than Elizabeth Warren's, was, I believe, by Julian Castro, who said what I've been saying for a long time. If you don't impeach him, then he runs by saying there was nothing there, and you see, the Democrats couldn't lay a glove on me.
Actually, I said that on this show.
That's right. So that's where I heard it.
I look like Elizabeth Warren all of a sudden, I guess.
That's where I heard it. So the fact is that if you don't impeach him, there's greater political risk than if you do.
Oh yeah.
Because as he said also, if you impeach him, don't remove him, then blame Mitch McConnell, blame Moscow Mitch, right?
Yeah. If I was him, if I was him at the first debate, as soon as they brought up obstruction collusion, I would say, why didn't they impeach me then? I would have called for Obama to be impeached. They didn't impeach me because they knew I didn't commit a crime.
Absolutely right.
And
so
that becomes a problem for whatever Democrat stands across from them.
I know. And the other thing that I want to talk about, maybe we'll talk about it on a Facebook only. I don't know if we're going to do a Facebook only, but
we could do it.
If we do, okay. The other thing I want to talk about, which is kind of a sensitive subject, is that right now, a lot of the propping up of Joe Biden is being done by African Americans. So I do want to discuss that.
Okay. I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to say this to you, my brother. Tread lightly. But if you want to go there, let's go there. But
Well,
let's see.
I'm just saying what I'm seeing.
I want you to hold that.
Look,
hang on. I want you to hold that for Facebook Live. And we're gonna go there in about, give me a time. We're gonna go there, I think, in about 1 minute. Is that right? We're gonna go there in about 1 minute. So I'm gonna start wrapping up. Stay tuned. We're going to Facebook Live. Goostock, finish that thought. And James Farr, if you're still there, I want you to chime in. Bring us some comments. Let's talk about it. So,
cool.
Sign off, Barry.
I'm Barry Gordon. Aloha.
And I'm Andre Coleman. Stick around.
Woo!